Lloyd Burr live.
Today FM.
Now, 3 dogs remain on the loose following a fatal attack in the far north. The person is thought to have been mauled to death by 4 of the animals at a Pangaru property yesterday. Now, one of the animals was shot dead when police tried to capture them, but 3 of the others have escaped and the public is being urged to keep clear of them. So what causes dogs to behave aggressively, and what should you do if you encounter an aggressive dog? Joining us now is Darren Rowe, who's a canine behaviouralist and owner of Mindfulness for Dogs in Cambridge. Thanks for coming on the show, Darren. I guess what should you do if you see an aggressive dog or maybe a fearful dog?
Yeah, so it's really important that you get it right, because obviously it could be not a great result. So remain calm. Right? I think the first thing that people think of is they want to run away from the situation. That's quite understandable, isn't it? But actually, you need to remain calm, because as soon as you sort of run, then that dog's going to potentially cue into that sort of chase drive that they have, and it's probably not thinking very good anyway, because it's probably quite stressed out.
So you should just stand there. If it comes after you, just stand there.
Yeah, and it's almost counterproductive, isn't it, to what you think you should do? But you've got to stand there and remain completely still. Don't say anything, or if you do, a very quiet voice. Definitely don't give the dog eye contact when it's in that state. And I want to kind of talk about eye contact, because I give my dogs eye contact all the time, but they're in a balanced emotional state. When a dog's kind of like not balanced, not emotionally sound, then or fearful, then that eye contact will become a challenge, and they're likely to then aggress back at you. So definitely don't give eye contact. But yeah, keep still, keep calm. Easier said than done, though, Lloyd.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
What would cause...
Yeah, it really is, especially when your heart is thumping.
What would cause a dog to suddenly snap, to suddenly be aggressive? I mean, I know that there are situations where a dog might be relatively calm and friendly, and then all of a sudden you have a situation when they turn on you.
Yeah, so there's many reasons why dogs, well, there's 101 reasons, I guess, why dogs may become aggressive. But generally speaking, the underlying problem would be that they weren't socialised properly to people and to other dogs when they were younger, maybe as puppies. That's really important that got socialised and do it correctly. But there's also a thing called resource guarding. So many people will go to take something off a dog, and the dog will snap at them and guard that resource. So it might be a bone, it might be food, it might be a toy, it might be a person. So you get that protective kind of like guarding. Other things, they could be asleep. And often young kids get bitten by dogs when they go and wake them up, because they're dreaming about things and they just snap as they wake up. That's quite a big one. Oh gosh, there's so many other things. It might be down to the way that they're trained. So they might be trained with a punishment method, and therefore they're more likely to show that aggression when they're challenged. Gosh, yeah, I could go on forever, to be honest.
I mean, when I think of countries that have got heaps of stray dogs, I think of like Turkey, and there's lots, you go to Turkey and there's just heaps of stray dogs. They're all quite friendly, though. I don't often think of New Zealand, though. Do we have a stray dog problem here?
I think we have roaming dogs, and in certain areas, obviously, there's going to be a higher population of those roaming dogs. It's not something that I've sort of would have said that New Zealand has a problem with, apart from the normal sort of dog control issues where dogs are getting out of properties. So certainly I spent some time in India many years ago, and there were definitely like lots of dogs roaming around, but they were the most placid things out, to be honest. I have to admit, it was the ones that were on leads that were causing most of the problems.
What about the pack mentality? I mean, is all it takes is one dog to start acting aggressive and then the rest of them will follow?
Yeah, I personally don't like using the word pack, because that kind of sort of says all sorts of things about hierarchy which don't exist in sort of domesticated dogs. But if you think of a family, if one dog is fearful and aggressive, then what happens is they tend to sort of back each other up, and then they often have a go at each other, and then they start fighting each other. And if you happen to be in the middle of that, then you could be there as well. So it's not so much a pack mentality; it's just a guarding a resource or something like that.
Do you know the saying you can't?
Difficult one.
Do you know the saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks? So if you've got all of these quite aggressive dogs that have never been properly trained, or maybe have intentionally been trained to attack because they're part of dog fighting clubs or whatever, or you've got owners who have got 30-odd dogs and they're all poorly behaved, can you retrain them, or is the best answer to euthanize them?
It's always a contentious issue, isn't it? I think given the right time, given the right resources, you can always train a dog to live a life that's acceptable, but that life may well be very highly managed. And that dog may be on a muzzle every time they go out, and it may be kennelled totally separate to other dogs. But some dogs you can't sort of take them back to the level where they would be able to live in society and run around in dog parks and stuff like that. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's the only alternative. But most dogs, most pet dogs or domesticated pet dogs, there's always a way to make their life much better. And it's a combination of training and management, really. But it does take a bit of time, a bit of effort from the client.
I know you said if the dog starts to turn on you, you stay calm, you don't make eye contact. If it does get to a point where that's not enough to calm them and they do end up coming at you and attacking you, is there something that you can do?
Punch it in the nose.
No. Well, actually, that's the worst thing you can do, to actually hit a dog. And that's one of the things that you definitely don't want to do, because as soon as you hit the dog, then you cause pain in them, and they'll come back at you even harder then.
So when you're standing there and you're staying completely still and you're looking straight ahead, you're not giving them eye contact and you're breathing, how do you not react? And it's like biting your arm or attacking your leg. What are you meant to do? You stand there.
Yeah, so when the recommendations are that you don't pull your hand away, that you leave it there, which again is easier said than done. But when you pull your hand away, you're cueing into that predator-prey drive, and they're going to start to pull back at it, and then you're going to make it worse. So if I'm playing tuggy with a dog and we're playing sort of like tugging, they're getting excited. When I bring that tuggy into my body and I just stop completely and go dead, effectively, they let go. And that's generally what happens when you become completely boring. The dogs let go, unless they've gone way, way, way above that threshold, and then all bets are off, really, I guess. And it might be a bit of a harder task. But the one thing you don't do is shout and scream and try and hit them back, because you are going to make it 10 times worse. Okay,
I've learned quite a lot from this. From this chat.
Yeah, if you're on the ground, you do that. When there's an earthquake, sort of like cover.
Turtle.
Put your hands over your head. Make sure your fingers are tucked into a fist now, okay? Because you can end up with no fingers left as well if they're attacking you. So these are extreme measures, and hopefully we never get to that stage with normal dogs in a park and stuff like that. And I've never sort of seen that before, but quite extreme.
Thank you very much, Darren. You've taught all of us quite a lot. Thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah.
That is Darren Rowe, a canine behaviouralist and the owner of Mindfulness for Dogs in glorious Cambridge.